Social and political organizations in Peru announced that they will continue to mobilize to insist on the resignation of Dina Boluarte. In Türkiye, experts warned of the risk of epidemics in southeastern due to decomposing bodies 10 days after the earthquakes. In Nigeria, people took to the streets after President Muhammadu Buhari defended a currency swap that led to cash shortages. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. And now we begin with the news. Social and political organizations in Peru announced that they will continue to mobilize to insist on the resignation of Dina Boluarte. On Thursday, they are expected to hold a rally in the Plaza 2 de Mayo in Lima as part of the marchers that indefinite national strike. The organizations insist on demanding the closure of the Congress and the rejection of the repressive actions of the government, as well as requesting the beginning of a constituent process. Meanwhile, the mobilizations have continued in the region of Puno, where the inhabitants assure that they will remain in the streets until Dina Boluarte resigns and the closing of the Congress is achieved. In the midst of this scenario, political organizations are warning about the agenda that Dina Boluarte initiated with Fujimorismo. And Peru's president-designate Dina Boluarte met on Wednesday with the leader of the far-right Fuerza Popular Party, which means in English Popular Force, Keiko Fujimori, at the government's palace. The meeting between Boluarte, who on December the 7th was appointed president by Congress after the dismissal of constitutional president Pedro Castillo, and Fujimori, the daughter of the dictator Alberto Fujimori, took place within the framework of the government's rounds of dialogues with the country's different political forces, while social movements remain in the streets in rejection of the Boluarte government, general elections, the closing of the Congress, and the release of Castillo, who is in prison, accused of the alleged crime of rebellion. In Panama, the death toll rises to 40 after a bus overturned. The vehicle was carrying 66 asylum seekers, including children and adults, near the border with Costa Rica. Among the injured are a dozen children between the ages of 5 and 11, 3 of whom are in critical condition at the Children's Hospital in the city of David, the capital of Chiriquí. Officials investigating the accident explained that the driver lost control of the bus, which caused the vehicle to fall into the void. The president of Panama regrets the accident and assured that all attention will be given to the injured. Meanwhile, the prosecutor in charge of the investigation detailed the tasks carried out by different organizations to deal with the situation.
The Public Prosecutor's Office, together with the security agencies, the Ministry of Health and other agencies, such as SINAPROC and the firefighters, are working hard to remove the bodies. Likewise, the injured persons were transferred to the regional hospital, to the José Domingo de Valdía Hospital, since there are also several infants with serious injuries.
And the Commission of the National Assembly of Ecuador will receive on Thursday new appearances for the investigation of the presumed corruption and links with the drug trafficking in the government. Legislator Viviana Veloz expressed the need to hear more testimonies because there could be others involved in the alleged criminal structure revealed by the digital media La Posta. The media investigation revealed that several people close to President Guillermo Lasso were involved in the Encuentro case. The Parliamentary Commission is expected to present a final report on February 22nd with recommendations and a probable impeachment against the president. Argentina and Uruguay joined the list of Latin American countries under a health emergency due to bird flu. Almost all countries in the continent have already reported cases. According to Fernando Matos, head of the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries in Uruguay, authorities were not surprised about the reported cases. Matos also said the ministry had indications of the presence of the disease transmitted by migratory birds in local wildlife. The government officials stated that the virus was detected on a black-necked swan on the coast of Laguna Garzón. Meanwhile, Argentine authorities reported another case on a wild bird in the country's northern province of Jujuy. And until this Thursday, the Haitian National Police killed 16 alleged gang members and arrested 396 as part of Operation Tornado 1, which began on January 27th. The spokesperson of the institution, Gary Desrosiers, explained that several operations were carried out in the areas of Corel, Duval, Raquet, and Canaan. Also, a drone used to spy on police maneuvers was confiscated, as well as a dozen vehicles, $38,754, and more than 10 million goods, equivalent to about $62,500. Law enforcement agents also seized 153 kilos of marijuana, 24 firearms, and ammunition. The spokesperson assured that the actions will be extended to other areas controlled by gangs in the capital city of Port-au-Prince. On Thursday, the leaders of the Caribbean community gathered at the CARICOM 44th summit in Bahamas, discussed ways to advance a regional economy and market. Hosting Bahamas Prime Minister Philip Davis said at a press conference on Wednesday night that the meeting will hinge upon food and fuel security, climate and health financing, and the crisis in Haiti. CARICOM General Secretary Carla Barnett said they will be addressing pressing issues so as to promote further regional cooperation. She said the spike in prices on necessities is a deterrent, but still many regional economies are starting to recover from the contraction induced by the COVID-19 pandemic. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, World Trade Organization Director General Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, Latin American Development Bank Executive President Sergio Diaz-Granados, and African Export-Import Bank President Benedict O.K. Orama are attending the summit as guests. Let's take a short break, but first, remember you can follow us on our TikTok account at TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. Experts warned of the risk of epidemics in southeastern Türkiye due to decomposing bodies 10 days after the earthquakes. So far, official death toll exceeds 36,000 people in the country. According to government authorities, the death toll continues to rise, while the number of injured is around 108,000. Specialists warn that cholera outbreaks could develop if sanitary measures are not taken in time. The earthquake that occurred on February the 6th caused damage to around 50,000 buildings. In the face of this situation, more than 216,000 people were evacuated from the provinces most affected by the quake. In Türkiye, the governor of the Yemen, Mahmoud Kuhadar, made an official report on the current situation of the city after the recent earthquake that affected the country. He also indicated what measures the government will take to solve the disaster.
There are thousands of collapsed buildings. We are now carrying out our efforts in the field search and rescue activities to the end. So far we have built 27,000 tents. Now thousands of people are living in the tents. In the next stage we are going to build 10 cities. Our purpose is to build permanent residences. We are going to build something new. The damage is serious. There is a lot of damage. We need to rebuild the city.
The president pointed out that so far the death toll in the area exceeds 5,500 and that humanitarian aid has been received from at least 40 countries.
We have approximately between 5,500 and 6,000 dead. The maximum we ever had was 40 teams. Right now we have 20 teams working in the center. We have 2 field hospitals and we also have an intact hospital that is carrying out its work. We have already built tanks for the cities that from a period of a month and a half we will have finished.
WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus says that the organization expects its financial needs in the response to the earthquake in Türkiye and Syria to double by the end of this week. The WHO has already launched an appeal for $43 million.
We launched an appeal for $43 million to support our response in both countries. This amount is increasing by the day, and we expect WHO's financial needs for this emergency to double by the end of this week. We urge donors to be generous. On Monday, 2 more cross-border points were opened, allowing convoys from Türkiye into the northwest of the Syrian Arab Republic. This supplements the aid we had in place before the earthquake struck, and which we distributed to health facilities that day. On Saturday,
And now we move on to other topics. Members of the European Parliament called on member states and the international community to provide Ukraine with comprehensive support and military assistance, including heavy equipment and fighter jets. This was stated in an European Parliament resolution approved on Thursday by 444 votes in favor, 26 against, and 37 abstentions. The document called for serious consideration to be given to delivering Western fighter jets and helicopters, appropriate missile systems, and substantial increases in munitions delivery to Kiev. It also demanded 1 EU member state to adopt their 10th sanctions package against Russia and its allies by the end of February and to broaden its scope. The president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, said on Thursday that his country would only join Russia's offensive in Ukraine if attacked first by Kiev's army. At a press conference, Lukashenko stressed that in case of any aggression against Belarus, his response will be the most cruel and the world will take on a completely different character. The Belarusian leader stressed that this is not only about Ukraine. It also applies to our other neighbors who behave more inappropriately, he said. The Western powers have increased Ukraine's military potential by escalating the already complicated political military situation around their country and in the region, he added. French unions held another day of strikes and the protests on Thursday in a fresh test of opposition to President Emmanuel Macron's plan to raise the retirement age. While waiting to block France as of from March the 7th, unions organized the 5th day of mobilizations against the pension reform to keep the pressure up on lawmakers. Meanwhile, in the National Assembly, debate on the key Article 7 of the reform, which raises retirement age from 62 to 64, has not started yet due to the thousands of amendments presented by members of the opposition and the harsh political climate of the past few days. Spanish lawmakers voted on Thursday to adopt a bill allowing anyone over 16 to change gender on their identification card. The new legislation made Spain one of the few nations to allow people to change their gender on their national identity card with a simple declaration. Meanwhile, lawmakers also gave final approval to another law granting paid medical leave to women suffering severe period pain, becoming the first European country to advance such legislation. Menstrual leave is currently offered only in a small number of countries across the globe, among them Japan, Indonesia, and Zambia. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari on Thursday defended a currency swap that sparked protests and cash shortages, but ordered all small denomination 200 naira notes to remain in circulation in a bid to ease scarcities. Nigeria has been struggling with a shortage in cash since the Central Bank of Nigeria began to swap all bills of the local naira currency for new redesigned ones, leading to a shortfall in banknotes. The scarcity of cash has triggered violent protests in major cities as angry and frustrated bank customers attacked and vandalized banks and blocked roads. The weeks-long cash crisis has intensified days before Nigerians go to the ballot box on February 25th to elect a successor to Buhari, who will step down after 2 terms in office.
I'm addressing you as your democratically elected president to identify with you and express my sympathy over the difficulties being experienced as we continue the implementation of new monetary policies aimed at boosting our economy and tightening of the loopholes associated with money laundering. To further ease the supply pressures, particularly to our citizens, I have given approval to the CBN that the old 200 naira banknotes be released back into circulation, and that it should also be allowed to circulate as legal tender with the new 200 naira, 500 naira, and 1,000 naira banknotes for 60 days from February 10th, 2023 to April 10th, 2023, when the old 200 naira notes ceases to be legal tender.
And frequent power outages are making life harder for many South African citizens, forcing many local businesses to brink of bankruptcy. On February the 8th, the South African government declared a national state of disaster to address the country's electricity crisis. This will enable the country to better support businesses in the food production and storage sectors and the retail supply chain with distribution of generators and solar panels in efforts to ensure uninterrupted power supply for them. As Africa's most industrialized economy continues to be dogged by rotating blackouts, President Cyril Ramaphosa defended his plans to appoint a Minister of Electricity in his office to deal with the situation. To date, Mineral Resources and Energy Minister Gwede Mantashe and the Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan, who share responsibilities on the matter, have voiced different views on how the crisis should be handled. The governments of China and Iran have agreed to accelerate the implementation of their trade cooperation plans and have also stressed the importance of maintaining peace and stability in the Persian Gulf region. In a joint statement, the heads of state of China and Iran said that developing a close strategic relationship aims to strengthen the Persian nation's role in international affairs. The governments of Beijing and Tehran also finalized agreements in agriculture, trade, tourism, environmental protection, culture, and sports, among other fields. The Asian giant also condemned foreign interference in Iran's internal affairs. The two nations deepened their strategic alliance in the framework of the 3-day state visit to Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi to the Asian nation. Now we move on to other topics. The New Zealand government on Thursday deployed gunships and helicopters to deliver water, food and fuel to cities affected by Cyclone Gabrielle. Thus far, 5 people died, 100 remain missing, and more than 10,000 have been displaced. In this context, Prime Minister Chris Hipkins warned New Zealanders of a long recovery ahead, with power not expected to be restored to some areas for weeks, and the cleanup likely to take much longer. 4 days of Cyclone Gabrielle's violent winds and heavy rains caused landslides and widespread flooding that hit the island's road network and knocked out mobile phone towers.
I can only imagine how I would feel if I was in that set of circumstances with my own family. It has been an extraordinary weather event. We will absolutely be focused on doing everything we can to support them from this point onwards to get through.
And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.